maintenance work?
No, I have no experience in subsea maintenance. I am in the operations department.
In your witness statement, at paragraphs 9 to 13, you told us that you gave some evidence, you gave some evidence of the process of the draining of the line between berths 5 and 6 based on the information which you obtained from maintenance personnel.
And through handovers from my peers.
And through?
Handovers, during shift handovers from my peers.
Can you tell us who at Paria personnel supervised or monitored the draining of the line?
I can't say. It would have been done prior, and I had limited involvement in that.
Can you help us as to how many barrels of oil were removed from the line when it was drained?
I can't say because I wasn't present during the draining process.
And you did not have any access to any records to that effect?
Records, no.
No. Can you help us as to whether the line was mostly cleared or there was you mentioned there was some amount of liquid content in the line. Can you give us an idea of, if you know how much?
I can't quantify it.
You cannot quantify.
However, from the handovers, they expressed that they drained it in accordance with the procedure, and it was handed over from operations to the contractor in the maintenance work.
Sorry. Now, in your witness statement, at paragraph 8, you said, as part of the pre-work, LMCS undertook to drain product from the pipeline at berths number 5 and 6 in accordance with Paria work instruction effective the 5th of January 2022. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah.
And you went on to say, which was developed by the offshore section of the Terminal Operations Department. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes.
So Paria developed the instructions for the draining of the line?
Yes, according to you.
Now, those instructions, we have it. Those instructions are at CB 1033. Yeah. Yeah. Good. That is those are the instructions?
Yes, these are the instructions.
I want you to look and you see that they even have diagrams attached to it. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. And I want you to, you see purpose. Paria intends to change out, and what's mentioned there, so it refers to these works that we are talking about in this case, correct?
Yeah. The draining, yeah.
Yes. And then you say you see responsibilities?
Yeah.
The terminal operations manager, that will be of Paria, not so?
Yes.
Has the overall responsibility for ensuring that this procedure is established by reviewing and approving this work instruction.
Yeah, it says that here.
And then you see ensuring the offshore team lead understands the requirements of this work instruction. Okay? And then it goes on, the offshore team lead has direct responsibility to ensure compliance with the procedure by reviewing and approving this work instruction, ensuring the offshore operation team supervisor understand the requirements of this work instruction.
Yeah.
And then it gives a procedure. And it has a heading, procedure. The following are the steps that should be followed for the clearing of line 36 between berths 5 and 6. And then you would see that for the next few pages, you have a very detailed procedure up to page 1038, and then you have the diagrams, correct?
Yeah.
But I have not been able to see in this procedure or these documents or the instructions which are given any amount to be drained, any quantity of the oil to be drained. Could you help us? Because you are the one who was given this document, and you would be familiar with the contents of it, not so?
Well, this document was prepared by someone else.
I know. I'm not saying you prepared it.
Right.
But it was handed to you.
Yes. So basically, this document was to oversee the draining process.
Yes, to oversee it, so you'd be familiar with its contents.
Right. But
did it? Sorry.
Yeah, but it didn't have a specific amount to be drained.
So
as I said before, I wouldn't be able to say specifically how much was drained because I wasn't present. I had limited involvement in the draining process.
But you had to oversee the process.
I don't recall because, as I said, we work shift. So we have 4 days on, 4 days off. So sometimes the work that is conducted here might happen during the 4 days off.
Yes, that might be so, but obviously nobody's expected to work 7 days a week. But if you're 4 days on and then you're handing it over to somebody else, presumably you tell that other person how far you've got.
Right.
Right, and then when they hand it back over to you 4 days later, they tell you how far they've got.
Yeah, but sometimes the
yes
job
or no?
is completed. Yes.
Yes or no? Right.
Yes.
Now, of course, sometimes the job is completed and there is no handover to you. I can get that.
Yeah.
But do your best to help us here. It's not very helpful for you to say, well, I don't know because it might have been during the period of time that somebody else was doing. I mean, you had partial control over this, didn't you?
The draining process?
Yes. Oversight.
Not to my knowledge. I wasn't involved in the draining, as I said before.
No, I'm not saying you did the draining, but
Yeah.
didn't you have oversight?
No, as I said, I wasn't present during the draining process, or had a limited presence, of which I can't recall.
Right. Who had oversight?
The personnel who would have been working as the site
No.
authority.
There's a difference between the man who's actually turning the tap on
No.
and the person who has control over the process.
Yeah.
So did you have control over the process?
Operations department had control over the
Right.
process.
Are you operations department?
Yes.
What is your rank in the operations department?
Operations team supervisor.
Right. Will you answer his question?
Didn't you just tell us under oath that you had to oversee this? The draining of the line and the carrying out of these instructions?
Yes, the operations department, yes.
And that was your department?
Yes.
So, and you cannot help us to tell us how much oil was drained up during the period of time you were overseeing it?
As I said, I wasn't involved in the overseeing of the draining. However, from handovers, I can't say the quantity of oil that was removed.
And how was the oil removed?
Basis handover again and talking to maintenance personnel. It was air blowed from berth number 5 to berth number 6. And then ashore. And then afterwards, they were part of the process where it was drained to a slot barge as well.
So Paria officials were involved in the draining process,
Yes.
and Paria officials were witnessing the draining process.
I wouldn't say witnessing.
They were present.
They were, well, they were present. They are overseeing.
Yes. Do you know whether and where was the oil, where did the liquid content of the draining process ended up, in sub barges, or where did it end up?
Some ended up in the tank farm, in a tank, and some ended up in a slot barge.
Would Paria have records of what quantities of this oil ended up in slop barges?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Would they have record of how much oil that was drained went to the tank farm?
To the tank farm, they're supposed to. Onshore supposed to have that, since they normally do a open gauge and a closed gauge on the tank.
At paragraph 13 of your witness statement, you said upon completion of the draining procedure, there was still product in the line. On what basis you say so?
This is again from handovers and talking to maintenance personnel.
So you remember what happened at handover?
Yes, some handovers, yeah.
Some handovers. So could you assist us with any quantity that you could remember from your handovers of how much oil was drained?
No, I can't say the quantity, but see, operations was overseeing the draining process by the contractor, the same LMCS, and they would have been doing their origin in order to determine if the right amount of oil was removed.
You're familiar with the work permit?
Yes.
That was issued, not so? That's
Yes.
at page 9838. Oh, this,
Our seasons.
because this has all the copies. Yes. I'm referring to this because it has all the attachments. No? It's a bundle. Yeah. 9838. It's a full bundle. Yes. Yeah, I have the same.
Page 1074 of our core bundles. 1074.
You recognize your handwriting on that document?
Yes.
And do you see in section A1, line drain comments?
Yes.
How did you know that the line was drained to put on this document?
As I mentioned before, from handovers and talking to maintenance personnel.
Did you consider at the time that you were dealing with this that the quantity or the amount of oil that was drained from the line was an important factor, an important matter?
It was important that it was cleared so that the area to work would have been clear to work at that time.
It was important for the line to be cleared.
For the maintenance work to commence.
For the maintenance work to commence. So the clearing of the line was critical for the maintenance works to commence.
Well, in order to them to change the section of the riser, it needed to be, the portion of that line needed to be clear.
Portion of the line had to be cleared.
Yeah.
The line was being drained both, you know, when I talk about topside, and there were two areas of the line being drained. One was topside and one was underwater between berths 5 and 6. Am I correct?
Well, yes, you're correct, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Look behind you and you see a sort of drawing of it. You see you have this topside and then you have the underwater shaped like the U.
Yes.
Right. So the line which was being drained was both the underwater portion of the line between berths 5 and 6 and the line topside above water.
Well, the information I have is that the topside, they had to clear the topside to remove the elbows.
Okay.
Once the elbows were removed, then they would drain partially to the point on that they had where they had to perform their maintenance work.
Where they had to perform their maintenance work. Okay. Let's go to how many days were you involved in how many days, as far as you were concerned, the line was being drained?
I can't recall.
So you can't recall how many days. Would you be able to help us whether there were?
Okay, so just trying to go back to my statement.
You can use your statement.
Okay.
It's not a memory test at all.
Okay.
If we go to paragraph 9, that might help you answer the question.
Right, yes. So, again, according to handovers and pass and talking to the maintenance personnel, so it was drained from the 18th to between the 18th and to the 3rd of February.
So 18th of January of this year to the 3rd of February this year.
Still
So that represents a period of what, two and a bit weeks? About 2.5 weeks?
Yeah.
So quite a lot of 4-day handovers.
As I said, non-consecutively, which would mean that it was drained, sometimes they stopped.
Still quite a lot of 4-day handovers.
Again, I'll have to check back my schedule to see.
Well, there's nothing to check, is there? If it was being drained, as you've been asked, between the 18th of January and the 3rd of February, that represents, does it not, 2 weeks minimum?
Yeah.
Right? So in that 2-week period, last time I looked, that's 14 days. Divide that by 4, and there were at least 4 periods when you've been handovers.
Actually, if divided by 8, 4 days on, 4 days off.
Yes,
So
4 days on,
8.
4 days off, but in between, you'd still have to make the handover, either to you or from you.
Well, in between would be the personnel who was on duty that day.
Yes, I appreciate that. But if you've got a 14-day period, after the 4th day, if you were working the first 4, you'd be handing over to somebody else, wouldn't you?
Well, okay, so on the 25th was my first day back to work after my 4 days off. So if you did back then, that was the period of time when the work had stopped, non-consecutively.
So you'd not been working. So had you worked on the 18th of January?
The 18th. I believe so. Yeah, maybe the 18th, yeah.
Right. Did you work on the 19th of January?
19th. After, yeah, I believe so.
You did.
But
Did you work on the 20th of January?
yes.
Did you work on the 21st of January? I don't want to go through it every day, but come on. Help us as best you can. You must have made a number of handovers in that 2-week period, either to you or from you.
Yeah, however, I do recall because...
Well, that's a different matter. If you can't remember, then please say so. But what I'm struggling with is what appears to be a little bit of obfuscation. That is, you're deliberately trying to hide from something or other.
No hiding of information.
Good. Well, I hope not. So let's start again, all right? Is the position that these lines were being drained between the 18th of January and the 3rd of February? That's what's in your statement.
Well, again, according to the information I gathered, yes.
Right. Thank you.
Non-consecutively.
Well, I'm assuming that what you put into your statement is what you believe to be true.
Yeah, non-consecutively.
Well, I'm not suggesting it was done every day, but it was done between those days, was it not?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, in that 2-week period, do you agree you were working off and on each 4 days?
Off and on, yeah.
Right. So that must follow, doesn't it, that whenever it was that you were working, you either handed over to somebody to carry on for the next 4 days, or they handed it back to you.
According to handovers and the information that I have, the work was, I believe, suspended on the 15th.
Work was suspended, yes?
Yeah, the draining of the line was suspended on the 15th.
So it wasn't being drained between the 18th and the 3rd?
I'm not sure. I can't say.
Well, that's what you put in your statement.
Yeah, again, this was just, as I said before in the statement, I provided a summary with regards to the works that were happening.
Mr. Randan, you wrote this statement on the 30th of September of this year, correct?
No, this statement was prepared prior.
Prior to that?
Yeah, yeah.
So it prepared even earlier than that?
Yeah.
But you signed it on that day, did you?
On the, yeah.
30th of September, I think that's the date I've got on mine anyway. Unless somebody's got a different date. 30th of September. Yes. That's the date you signed it. Mm-hmm. Prepared, was it? Who by?
By me.
Right.
Jonathan Ramda.
So you took a little while to prepare it, but it would have been more than that day. Is that what we're to understand?
Yeah.
Right. So you prepared the statement and then signed it as being accurate. I assume you read through it first, did you?
Yes.
And you thought to yourself, well, what I put in here must be right. Because if you didn't think it was right, you wouldn't have put it in, would you?
Right.
Right, thank you. So did you rely on any documents when you were making this statement, or did you just make it up as you went along from memory?
Well, I would have relied on again, handovers and documentation.
Documentation. Would it have been
pointing out the days since I wasn't there, and I needed to give a summary of like the nature of the works that I was happening.
Yes. What were you being asked to do in this statement? What was the purpose of you writing this statement?
To state what happened.
Yes, as best you knew it.
Yeah.
Given that your position in operations, it doesn't necessarily mean everything you yourself did, but what you understood to happen. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what you put in there. So can we take it that what's in here is accurate as far as you're aware?
Yes.
Right. Is there anything about paragraph 9 you want to change?
No.
Good. Then we'll work on the premise that you believe that the line was drained between the 18th of January and the 3rd of February. Yes?
Okay.
Great. And that means that during that time, if you were working off and on every 4 days, you would have either had it handed over to you or you to them. Correct?
Correct.
Marvellous. It's taken a little while, but would you like to carry on, Mr. Maher?
Much of it. Well, could you help us with the days that you work? If you could help us as to how much oil you're of the view or liquid content from the line was drained.
I can't recall.
Can't recall?
No.
No amount?
No, I can't recall the quantity.
Okay. Could you help us? You were overseeing this operation, you said. Could you help us with how much liquid content was in the line at the time when you started this overseeing in line 36, between berths 5 and 6?
You're referring to some You're referring to a point in the statement?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay, what's the question?
The question is, could you help us with the amount of liquid content that was in the line between birds 5 and birds 6 when the process of draining the line began?
No.
So what did you do what was your job in respect of?
Well, as I said, I had limited involvement in the draining process. So when it started, it didn't start with my team or my shift worker.
Okay, let's go to something else. All right?
Okay.
On the work permit that I showed you,
Yeah.
and you said there's your handwriting. You see.
Could we identify what is his handwriting, if it's all or just
Yes,
some
yes,
of it?
sir.
What is your handwriting?
Okay.
That's on there, please.
Apart from the description of the works, the rest of on A1 is your handwriting?
No, A would be prepared by the applicant.
I'm sorry, A. This is B1. Yeah. Sorry, B1 is your handwriting. B1, B2, B3.
In B3, the hot work certificate number was wrote in by the applicant. That's a different handwriting.
All right, let me get this specifically.
Yeah.
On B1, line drain is your handwriting.
Yeah.
That's not B1, that's
A1.
A1.
Oh, sorry.
That's A1.
No, that's
B1.
B1.
No, Mr. Chairman, that's B1.
Is it?
Yes, section
Oh, no,
A.
I've misread it. You're right. Thank you very much. Yes, sorry. So B1, yes.
Line
There's
drain.
section A, and then B is divided into different sections. Forgive me.
Line drain is your handwriting.
Yeah.
No is your handwriting.
Yes.
The next line, yes, is your handwriting.
Yes.
Migration barrier to be used is your handwriting.
Yes.
Right. On the form again, if we go to B3, you see it has all of the handwriting where it has the column certificate number NA. Are those your handwriting?
Yes, except the hot work certificate handwriting, 2634.
All right. And then if you go to the next column just at the side, would that be your handwriting?
Yes.
Right. Then if we go to B4, additional precautions care to be taken when weather conditions change. Is that your handwriting?
Yes.
And your signature is at 5, am I correct?
Yes.
Right. The ticks at B4, would that be your ticks?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so let us now the description in section A of the works. That's not your handwriting.
No.
Whose handwriting is that? You know?
That would be the applicant, Houston.
Who is the applicant?
Houston.
Houston Majad Singh.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you go to, let's take the question at B1, the third column, cleared of process hazardous material, yes, migration barrier to be used. Am I correct that what you were in effect dealing with there was whether any hazardous materials would go into the pipe or would be a hazard in the chamber?
Could you repeat the question?
Where you answered yes, migration barrier to be used, am I correct in relation to the context of that question? You were using the answer in reference to whether any hazardous materials would be going into the pipeline or would be in the chamber?
Cleared of process hazardous material means that the line to be worked on, it needs to be clear of the process hazards. like the section of line they were working on, it needed to be clear of process hazards, which is essentially the fuel oil that was in the line.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, see.
It needed to be clear to work on.
It needed to be clear.
It needed to be clear in order to do your maintenance work.
Sorry, can I?
Yeah.
Because you say migration barrier, cleared above the migration barrier or below it?
Well, the sectional line they needed to work on, which would be everything above this line, the part that they needed to cut to perform their works. So everything there is supposed to be clear. And because, because again, from the procedure in Hanover, they were still product in the line, the migration barrier should be used as a precaution.
As a precaution for what? For
yeah.
things, hot works going into the line?
Well, the two precautions was the toxic fumes from the fuel oil entering the workspace, as well as the toxic fumes could create a flammable environment in the event that you have any hot work going on.
Oh, so those are the hazards you were thinking of?
Yeah, that's what the hazards.
Those are the... And line to be, where you had line to be drained, you understood that was one of the instructions which were given to you as an employee of Paria to oversee the line being drained?
Well, the line being drained, right? So if when an applicant comes to me with the instruction, with the specific tasks to be done, we look at what was required, and the requirement in this case was the line to be drained, which was completed prior. And seeing that the project was already ongoing, they already drained the line, they already had the plugs in place, the migration barrier in place, and they already had a hyperbaric chamber there, and they were already doing welding inside. So that's just an indication that, yes, the line had to be drained as prepared by the procedure.
And the applicant in this case of this was Mr. Majad Singh?
Yes.
And he's an employee of?
That's Kenson working for Paria.
Kenson working for Paria.
So that I understand that when it says line drained, you mean by that, when you put that in there, that the line had already been drained?
Line drained, yeah, and yes. According to the procedure. That is like the conversation we had, because when someone comes to do a permit, we have a conversation of what is the job to be done and the requirements, yeah?
I understand.
Yeah.
So why you're putting that there is because you had understood it had already been done.
It had already been done, yes.
Right, I see. And having said that, you don't actually mean, do you, that the line had been completely drained?
No.
Only partially drained?
Partially, yeah, still had product in the line.
Yes, thank you.
Much obliged. Now, if we go down to B3, you see you have safe work method statement. See that?
Yeah.
So that was asking for any safe work method statement. The question was whether there was any safe work method statement, correct?
If it was attached to the document.
Yes. And
permit.
you say see attached.
Yeah. And
attached to the document was a hot work certificate.
Yeah.
Method statement 116. You can look at it if you don't remember.
Sorry, I was distracted for a moment.
I'm sorry. I was showing the witness 116. I was showing the witness the permit to work, the hot work certificate, and then I was now showing him 116, the method statement attached to it. Huh? Sorry, and it's up on the screen. Okay. And you had a job safety analysis, correct?
Yeah.
So as you understand it, you were representing by signing this that there was a safe work method statement attached to the work permit.
There was a method statement attached to the work permit according to the documents attached.
And as far as you were concerned, it was asking for a safe work method statement. You were representing Paria, and you were representing that it was attached.
I need to explain. Could I? Yeah. So, again, I'll make reference to the permit to work system and our permit to work training. With regards to method statement and GHAs, those are reviewed prior to the beginning of a project by the technical and maintenance team, who is the experts in the field. And once they deem it fit, they would approve it. And then it would come to us as an approved document via an approved applicant, who is the approved applicant, meaning he's trained in the permit to work system. So according to our training, once it comes via an approved applicant, we verify verbally that these are the approved documents. We don't need to go through the documents. Those are attached.
I could understand.
Yeah.
So you assumed it was approved as being saved?
No, I didn't assume. It came to me via an approved applicant. So via his confirmation that these were approved documents, I mentioned it was attached.
Okay, and the approved applicant was Mr. Majad Singh?
Yes, in this case, yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look at A2, residual hazards, did you have to fill this out? Did you have to consider whether there are any other hazards or anything like that?
B2, right?
Sorry, B2.
Okay, yeah, so...
Yes.
Same as me.
Yes, B2.
All right, so as long as... my main concern was the toxic fumes and combustible environment. And as once the migration barrier to be used, this was adhered to, I didn't see any residual hazards again.
Okay. So just
operationally.
So just to get it clear, on that date, you had no idea of differential pressure or delta P?
No.
No. And you're not qualified, or you had no experience in that?
No.
So you could not really detect or assess whether there was any delta P hazard in these works?
I know nothing about delta P.
Okay.
At that point in time.
Okay. Now, I notice here that one of the things that was required was an process isolation checklist. If you look at B3.
Right.
Could you help us if you know anything about the importance of such a certificate?
So our process isolation certificate indicates when a valve is closed, if a slip blank is in place. However, in this case, the elbows were removed. So that superseded any process isolation that was involved during the preparation process. When I say elbows, sorry, I mean the elbows at 436 line at berth number 5 and berth number 6. So it basically cuts off any process from interfering with the line to be worked on.
So as far as you were concerned, an isolation certificate, one way or the other, a certificate, isolation certificate, did not have to be attached to the permit to work.
No, and no, because it was done superseded by the elbows being removed.
Who is, if there was to be an isolation certificate, who would sign that? Who would normally sign that?
Process isolation normally done by the operations department.
The operations department.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't attached to the document, but there, as I said before, existed a process. Well, there existed a process isolation, however, that was superseded by the removal of the elbows.
Okay. I want to go to another area of your evidence. At paragraph 16 of your statement, which is the paragraph you said is the site authority? At paragraph 16, you said that about 800 hours, Mr. Majad Singh brought to you the following permits to work and issued as the site authority. So you were the site authority on that date?
Correct.
So on the date of the works, that's the 25th of February, you were the site authority?
Correct.
In respect of the work permit?
Yeah.
Right. Now, as the site authority, you are aware of the functions and duties of the site authority.
Yes.
And we can find that in Core Bundle 1, page 30.
Yeah.
And you see at paragraph 5.3 on page 30, the site authority shall, and I'll just go through a few of it, right?
Yeah.
Ensure that a suitable and sufficient JHA has been prepared for the job. Do you have any expertise to assess a job safety analysis?
Could I explain? Okay, right. So as the site authority, we have no training or experience in the preparation of a GHA. However, this was raised again in our HSC permit to work system, and the HSC department indicated that once the document were approved by the relevant parties and comes to us via an approved applicant, it's checked to see if it's approved, it is rendered sufficient and, well, suitable and sufficient.
So could you tell me whether you complied as the site authority with any of these duties mentioned in 5.3?
I complied with all.
You comply with all?
Yeah.
So the site authority, so by ensuring that there's a sufficient JHA, you are saying you complied with that because you accepted?
No, is our instruction and from our permit to work system that it indicates that that because we are not the expert in those areas, meaning in terms of assessing the risk, once it's assessed and reviewed by the HSC department and it is approved by them, and again it comes to us via an approved applicant, it is deemed suitable and sufficient.
So as far as you're concerned, you have no discretion in the matter. As long as it comes, you're rubber stamp and you approve it.
It's not a rubber stamp, but
what you are
is basically, it was already approved by the relevant departments. So essentially, I basically just ensure that it's there with the package.
Okay, let's go down. I don't want to go through all because, yeah.
Just help me about that, though. Yeah. You said it has to come from an approved supplier.
Yeah.
And goes through which department?
It goes through technical and maintenance and HSEQ.
Technical and maintenance?
Yeah. And HSE.
And
HSE. HSE department.
Health and Safety Executive. Of Paria?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, help us with this one.
Yeah.
Ensure by face-to-face, if you go down about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 bullet point. Ensure by face-to-face discussion and on-site visit that the person in charge of the activities at the job site knows the exact location of the work, all the hazards that may be present, and all the precautions to be taken during the work. This includes the discussion of the job hazard analysis with the person receiving the permit. Now, you already told us you don't have any expertise in this matter.
No.
So how do you perform that function?
Okay, I indicated I have no expertise in establishing the suitable and sufficiency of it. Now, the GHA comes to me, we would run through the obvious risk with regards to if there's any hot work going on, you have a fire hose there. I hope I answered any question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Ensure that there's a fire hose there, you have your HSC personnel doing your gas tests, and all other precautions to access the risk that is on the GHA.
I see. Then look at two more bullet points. Periodically monitor ongoing work either in person or through his team to determine whether site conditions and precautions have been maintained.
Right. Yes, so site conditions, as the name states, site authority, we are responsible for the operational site. Now, I'll just go in and expand a little bit. Now, Paria business is not maintenance work. It is a terminal. So basically, I being the site authority, I'm in charge of the terminal operations, meaning that they are berthing of vessels, unberthing of vessels. So the site conditions could change if there are any operational activities. However, at the morning of this, when this permit came to me, our due diligence was checked with regards to any turnaround movements we have, which we had none on that particular day. And so that is one of the reasons, again, why the permit was issued as well, because our site conditions, our site operations was not affecting the maintenance activity. Now, with regards to periodically monitor the site, and again, I refer to the site conditions and precaution maintained, I had an operator, Kurt Scott, on site, and he would just check to see if there are any vessels in the area to raise an alarm to shipping building.
Okay, so you were concerned with any vessels, but what about any hazard in respect of the job which had to be done?
No, well, vessels would have been a hazard. When a vessel passed in, it would disturb the water.
Not a hazard. So in respect of what I just read, precautions have been maintained. Conditions and precautions have been maintained. Were you in a position to personally see whether precautions and conditions have been maintained?
Well, I had my operator on site, and he will report to me.
You have your operator. But you are the site authority.
Yes, I have the site.
Yes.
As it states here, periodically monitor ongoing work, either in person or through his team, to determine whether the site conditions and precautions have been maintained.
And the person who you're talking about is a Kenson Paria employee.
Kenson working for Paria.
Kenson working for Paria. And as far as you know, Mr. Scott, he working for Paria, he takes instructions from Paria.
He's a competent operator taking instruction from Paria.
Right. And taking instructions as to how to do the work and what work to do.
Taking instructions to monitor the site.
To monitor the site.
The operational facility and safeguard the operational facility.
Yeah. Was the migration barrier a precaution?
It was a precaution to be, yes, it was a precaution to be instated by the maintenance team.
You monitor the migration barrier in the doing of in implementing the works?
There were no way to monitor the migration barrier. It was, in order to access the migration barrier, you have to dive and go into the chamber.
But doesn't Paria have someone to monitor the work with a video camera or video on?
No, Paria never had any personnel monitoring the camera there.
So when these works were being done in the chamber, Paria didn't have anybody monitoring
I don't
it?
speak for operations. Operations was not monitoring the maintenance activity.
So as the site authority that day, you were not aware whether Paria was going to be monitoring the work while it was being done?
I'm aware that the applicant is responsible for continually monitoring his site. And that's why we have different roles and functions. So he would have been monitoring that continually monitoring it with the contractor who is in charge to supervise the operation.
Were you aware that Kirk Scott was monitoring this work?
Kurt Scott was not monitoring. His duty was not to monitor the maintenance work. Kurt Scott is operations.
If you look at the functions of the site authority again, about the 5 bullet points from the end, periodically monitor ongoing work, either in person or through his team, to determine whether the site conditions and precautions have been maintained. And you just said precaution, the migration barrier was a precaution. Well, did you have to monitor that?
Well, it's one of the precautions, however, it's supposed to be maintained on the maintenance site.
So as
our site.
Okay, so as far as you were concerned, from your duties, you did not have to be involved in monitoring the precautions in respect of the migration barrier.
Could you repeat the question?
As far as you are concerned, as the site authority, you did not have any duties to monitor the precaution in respect, any precaution in respect of the migration barrier.
Okay, so I need to explain. So as site authority, as it says, is to monitor the site and ensure it's operationally safe. I'll make reference back to the terminal has operations, which needs to be clear in order for your maintenance activity to take place. And once it is clear, meaning that the site, we have no vessel turnaround movements and also vessel movement within the area, because that will be a hazard as well, because if a vessel moves in the area, you have the disturbance of water and it might affect the diving activity.
I could understand what you're saying. So as far as you're concerned, the site was not the work site itself?
The site was the facility to ensure that it's operationally safe.
I see.
However, as placed in the permit to work, the migration barrier to be used in order to that to be enforced is the applicant would have to enforce it with his contractor, who would be supervising the job and ensuring that the stipulation on the permit was abided by.
Okay, Mr. Bramlin, we have your evidence, and you have been very helpful. Can I go to something else?
Yeah.
Right. At
Have you finished with the work permit?
Yes, yes.
Because there's something I'd like to ask.
Sure.
Mr. Ramdan, what is the point of attaching to the work permit the safe work method statement?
Just get this one.
Well, that's to show that the job was an approved job. It had approved documents coming with the permit. So it was approved by maintenance.
So the I want to be clear, please. The document, can we put up the work permit again, please? You've signed the work.
Yeah.
Right. So so you're saying you're allowed to do this work, all right? That's effectively what it means, isn't it?
Providing our site is safe. Yeah.
Yes. And safety is your byline, your watchword. Yeah. So included in this list of documents that are attached to the work permit is the method statement.
Right.
What this is describing it as, though, is a safe work method statement. Yes?
Yeah.
That's not something different from the method statement, is it?
I don't think so, no.
No. I mean, the method statement, please, if we can bring it up, page 1048. We're all getting familiar with this now. So that's the method statement LMCS provided, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you, as it were, see attached on the work permit, you mean this document, don't you? The one that was on the screen now.
Yes.
And so, although that's called method statement, what it means for your purposes as the safety officer of the site here.
Well, the site official, the site authority, yeah.
The site authority, forgive me, yes. Is that this method statement represents a safe work method statement. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yeah.
And as with the other documents, do you take it that method statement represents the way in which, or what work is to be done and the way in which it's to be done?
A method statement is a list of proposed jobs to happen to get a particular job done.
Right.
However, only the permit allows or permits a job to happen.
Say that again?
It's only the permit or document, the permit itself,
Right.
allows particular activities to happen. So when the applicant comes requesting permission to do a job,
Yes.
he explains verbally what they are going to do today. And that would be the specific tasks they are going to be that is going to be done today.
Right.
And that would be translated into the specific tasks.
Well, there's a dispute, clearly a dispute about what was or was not going to be done on that day. And
Yeah.
I'm not asking you about that.
Okay.
What I want to ask you about is that this document, the method statement that we're looking at on the screen now, is what you understand to be the safe work method statement.
It would be the method statement, which is
No,
proposed.
Please listen to my question. What you have put on this document in your own handwriting is C attached.
Yeah.
The document that we're looking at that's on the screen is the document that you mean by when you say attached. Mm-hmm. Is this something different to a safe work method statement?
No, it will be the same.
Right, it is exactly the same. So when you say C attached, you mean that this document represents a safe work method statement?
Yes, essentially.
Right. Do you understand, scroll through a little please, doesn't matter where, that there are a sequence of events that seemingly appear to be on this list? Do you understand it to be that?
Well, I understand it to be a series of jobs to be done to perform the activity.
Do you understand it to be sequential?
No.
You don't?
No.
So any of those jobs could be done in a different order and it wouldn't make any difference to you at all?
Well, it's not that the method statement wouldn't make a difference to me. Is the task that they are coming to do on a particular day would be the essential information.
Yes, I understand that. But in terms of this document,
yeah.
It doesn't, to you, does not represent a sequence of events.
No.
As to the order in which they should occur.
No, not to my understanding.
Right. So we can put that out of our minds from your point of view, that you never regarded this in that way. Anybody who was keeping an eye, a watchful eye, for whatever reason, over the works that were taking place, should not regard, according to you, should not regard this as a sequence of works to be done.
I can't see what the maintenance personnel does with it.
Well, you're the site manager, you see, or the site authority.
I'm the site authority, not the maintenance person.
And the site, one of the bylines, the watchword, as you agree with me, is safety.
Right.
Right. So obviously, if something was being done that was not authorized for that day or was not on this document, you would want to know. Wouldn't you?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, it's not a difficult one. If something was being done that was not on this method statement or was being done not according to what had been determined for that day, you would want to know.
No.
You wouldn't want to know.
The method statement...
No. Answer my question first. You can add whatever rider you like afterwards. Answer my question, please, and then you can say whatever you want to say, all right? I'm not going to stop you or shut you out. I just need to understand this, all right, so that I understand why this might be attached to the work permit. Is it that you're saying that you're not interested in whether they do a job of work that has not been authorized that day,
the method
but
statement
might appear on the method statement?
The method statement doesn't authorize any job.
No, but it's attached to the work permit.
Right, but it doesn't authorize.
No, I appreciate that, but without it being attached to the work permit, there wouldn't be a work permit.
Correct.
Right, so it's attached for a purpose. And the purpose is, in order for you to be able to say, there is a safe work method.
Is a maintenance document is a guide for our maintenance work.
A guide. A guide to whom?
For the maintenance department.
For the maintenance department.
Yeah, for the works to be done.
Are you saying that's nothing to do with you?
The method statement? No, the method statement doesn't.
No, I'm not saying the method statement. I'm saying the maintenance that's being carried out. Is that? Are you interested in the work that's being carried out?
Yes, and it's stipulated on the permit itself.
Right. And so if something was to happen that was not on that permit, not approved by that permit, would you want to know? If something was being done that is not authorised by this permit, the one that we have been looking at, it's not on there, right? Removal is no secret. Removal of the barriers was not apparently approved for that day.
Right.
That's what we've been told.
Right.
So if it was happening that they were taking these barriers off on that day, would you want to know that?
Yes.
Because if you knew that, what would you do?
Right. So, and that brings us to the duties, the different duties of the person.
What would you do if you knew that they were doing something that they were not permitted to do?
Yeah, I'll stop the work.
Right. You'd stop the work.
Correct.
We've heard about stops. This is in your right, your authority. You can say stop now, right now. Yes? So if it had come to your attention that there was work being done that should not have been done, you would have put a stop on it.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So you are interested, aren't you, in what work is being done?
In the work being done, yes.
Yes. How do you know what work is being done?
Well, the work that was being done was stipulated on the permit.
Right. But do you monitor it or keep any eye on it at all? Or you just let them get on with it? Do what you like. And, well, if it goes wrong, too bad. But, I mean, or are you keeping any watchful eye or any oversight on the work at all?
Okay, so that would be the duty of the applicant and the contractor official.
Right. So it all falls back onto the people who are actually contracting it. And so this man, Mr. Marjad Singh, who's from Kenson and who puts all of this on here, would he be interested in what was going on?
Interested in
what work was being done or not being done?
Well, yeah, he would be overseeing the maintenance activity.
He would be overseeing it, not you.
Not me.
Right. So you would rely on him to tell you, to give you a call and say, hey, by the way, Mr. Site Authority, they're doing something that they're not allowed to do.
Or something was done that wasn't permitted.
Or they're in the middle of doing it. And if you got that call, what would you do?
I would stop the work.
Right. So either you or somebody from Kenson, Mr. Marjad Singh, or his one of his deputies, or someone, presumably is keeping an eye on what's going on.
Or the contractor official as well.
Sorry?
Or the contractor official as well.
Well, obviously the contractor's doing the job, right? It's the contractor who's carrying out the work, isn't it?
Yes, but...
Right. And if he's doing something wrong, if he's going further than he is permitted to go, who stops him?
Okay, so...
Or does he stop himself?
So, can I explain?
Yes, you can.
Good. So, the site authority issues the permit with stipulated guidelines, right? Which would be the migration barrier to be used. Now...
Well, it was being used.
Right. So, now, after that, the applicant would be talking to the contractor official, because it's a trained applicant and is a trained contractor official in the permit work system. So each of them has their responsibility during the maintenance work. So, if the contractor official did the thorough briefing, the workers would have an understanding that this is the work stipulated on the permit, and this is the only work is to be done on the permit. And once that was done correctly, then it would not have resulted in, say, they're doing something that wasn't authorized on the permit.
Yeah, but I mean, every step of the job that's being done on any day for any permit is not stipulated on the permit, isn't it? It doesn't say turn the bolt to the right or to the left, does it?
Significant tasks are mentioned.
Significant tasks are mentioned, all right. In any event, to just get back to the point I'm trying to understand, is that you're saying that if the contractor goes wrong, there is no mechanism, as far as you can tell me, to stop the contractor going wrong.
No, what I'm saying is the contractor official has a duty and a responsibility.
No, I understand that. You've said that. Now, I've got that point.
Yeah.
Right, but what you're saying is that you want to put a fox in charge of the hen house. If the reality is that it's the contractor is the one doing the job, and you've got the contractor overseeing his own work, his own people, if he thinks he's doing the right thing, there's nobody going to stop him, is there?
No, but being an approved contractor via the permit to work system, you're supposed to know your responsibility.
Yes, I dare say he will tell us that he knows what his responsibilities are. But I want to know is whether there is any way in which you, I don't mean you personally, but your team or anyone from Paria is keeping an eye on what's being done, whether there is a violation of the work permit, so that you can exercise your right and duty to stop the works where it goes beyond what has been permitted.
Can I just refer to the permit to work system?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I'll start with just the contractor official.
Where are we?
That's 5.6.
5.6. Contractor official, page 31 of the core bundle, yes. Yes, I see that.
Right, so if you take it 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 from the bottom. That is of 8 of 14 on the next page. Yeah, there. There's something here stating that promptly notify the applicant and site authority of any hazards that may arise or of any changing conditions that increase risk. So being a trained contractor official and knowing that is only what is stated on the permit is allowed, if anything changed there, he's supposed to notify the applicant and essentially me in order to stop the work.
Right. That's what you're relying on, is it?
Yes.
Do you think that's enough?
Well, this is the system we have.
No, I appreciate that was the system at the time. Do you think it's enough?
This is our system, yes.
So you, now knowing what has happened, as you presumably do you think that merits any change?
Yes, I guess it merits some change. Everything isn't perfect, and
no, life isn't perfect. I get that.
Yeah, and everything does improve with time.
Yes. So do you think it merits change to the way in which you organise yourselves when you've got a contractor and you're getting him to police himself, and if he goes off-piste with his work permit and you don't know about it, you can't exercise your authority?
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be the messages, so to translate back down to me. Yeah.
Right. So one obvious thing might be that if there were more close oversight over the work that's actually being done on a particular day related to the work permit, you might be able to better exercise your authority.
Yes, the site authority would have to maintain the site. Well, once the message comes to the site authority, yes, he would be.
Well, it's a relatively small step, isn't it? Because Mr. Kurt, what's his name? Scott. He was there, wasn't he?
Yes, but
I appreciate you're saying that he didn't have that responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand. You see, our job, Mr. Wilson's job and mine at the end of this, is to make recommendations as well as to find out what happened. Right now, I want to know from you in your senior position as a site authority whether or not recommendations to change the way in which this operates is something we should consider. Do you follow? Right?
Yeah, follow.
And what I'm asking you is this, is that since you had Mr. Kurt Scott there anyway, looking at a screen and monitoring the air content in and out of the chamber, it would have been but a small step to have provided him with the work permit for that day, wouldn't it?
Good. I think you have some wrong in that line, because he wasn't there to look at any screen. He was there just to maintain the site conditions.
Yeah, but we know he did have a screen in front of him.
He did not have a screen
Well,
in front of him.
apparently he did, according to his statement.
No,
We've seen his statement.
Yeah. He didn't have a screen in front of him. His job on that day was never to monitor the maintenance.
No, I know what his job. I know what his job was on that day. Mm-hmm. What I'm asking you is whether or not it would be but a small step for him to be given an additional task, like having the work permit with him, so that he could keep some sort of oversight in what's being done. And he could alert you if something was being done that was not permitted.
I need to say again, there are different rules for different personnel. Our operations department is operations. We can't oversee a maintenance job.
I've got you. It's not a particularly helpful answer, but thank you anyway.
Okay.
But I just want to ask you two questions on this issue and pass on to another issue.
Okay.
As the site authority, could you have permitted the work if you were just presented with the first sheet, just the work permit?
No.
No. You had to have the method statement and the job safety analysis and the other documents.
All
Am I correct?
attachments, yeah.
Right. Would you agree with me that at Section A, it does not state method of works?
It says specific tasks.
It describes the works. It describes some works, not so?
No, that's a specific task.
I'm asking you a specific question. Would you agree with me that it does not state method of works?
It does not state method of work.
And from looking at this, you did not know the sequence of the works?
No, but there were specific tasks to be done.
Yes, okay. All right, let's go to something else, Mr. Ramdan. After the incident, were you aware that the permit to work was pulled or withdrawn?
No.
You don't know or you don't know?
I don't know.
Well, can I show you the permit to work at page 1072 of Core Bundle 3? And I'll read the job on that work permit at the top, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me if I'm correct. To carry out diving activities, specific tasks to carry out diving activities to assist with the maintenance of the work, right? You signed that too, not so?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Well, could you not help us? Was this not withdrawn or pulled?
It was. I only see it. To the bottom. Did you scroll to the bottom? I see nothing there. No sign.
We are trying to get it on the screen. In the meantime, while I look for that, I can answer. This work permit, though, authorize works by LMCS or activities which was permitted to carry out diving activities to assist with the project, not so?
Yes.
The question is, look at it. Do you know whether it was withdrawn or pulled on the 25th of February?
You can scroll up. Scroll. Let's see.
Sorry, page 1072.
Yeah.
1072
that is what's on
403.
And is not 1073 the reverse of that? And it's unsigned, unmarked.
The other side is 1073.
Yes, and that's untouched.
Untouched. You cannot tell because nothing is endorsed at the back.
Yeah,
Am I correct?
nothing written. Yeah, nothing written.
So you're not in a position to answer that question?
No.
No. But you would agree that this was a work permit to permit authorizing diving by LMCS?
To carry out diving activities to assist with the till the 16 line maintenance works.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramdan. Much obliged.
Thank you. There'll be some other questions for you, Mr. Ramdan.
No problem.
You want to go first? Yeah. Introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon, Kamini Prasad Maraj, and I'm for LMCS. Mr. Randan, I'll take you to the very permit that we have on screen, which is the dive permit. This was issued on the morning of the 25th of February 2022. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So you've signed at column section B5 and endorsed the date, the 25th of February.
So what date?
The date was missing from the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So on the column, the section B4, which speaks of additional precautions, you have there call shipping via radio and informant divers are entering the water. Dive flag to be erected. That's your handwriting.
Yes.
And those were the precautions that you had in relation to the diving.
Yes.
So I'll take you to the next work permit, which is 9302, also issued on the 25th of February. The very next document. No, it's not a back part. I would like to take you to the section B4 of that work permit. Now, this was the work permit in question in relation to the work to be done by the contractor within the chamber. That's correct?
Yes.
Right. Additional precaution. Can you say what you have written there?
Care to be taken when weather conditions change.
And that's in relation to what?
Okay,
What
so
aspect?
when weather changes, the water could get choppy and it could interfere with any activities in subsea or any diving activities as well.
But in your precaution that you placed on the permit for work for the diving that we just went through, you did not put that as a condition or of precaution. Do you see that?
Okay, yeah.
Should that not have been placed on that permit?
Yeah, it could be there, yeah.
As I understand it, there's a separate permit in relation to the diving, and that which you just read is in relation to the diving.
However, you needed to dive in order to go in the chamber to do the work.
Right. As I'm on the meta statement, let me take you to the endorsement at 5 with the authorization, that's section B5. Do you see after your signature and the date and time, you have an endorsement there in relation to time? Can you read that for us?
The 25th, 32nd, 2022, 0720.
0720. So that we take that as 7:20
Yeah.
a.m. Yeah?
Yeah, there. Yeah.
All right. I'd like to take you to your witness statement at paragraph 16. That would be
Paragraph
page
what?
1471. Yeah?
Which paragraph did you say? 16.
Paragraph 16, please. In your statement to the Commission, do you have the statement in front of you?
I'm seeing it on the screen.
All right. Do you see what time you have there in relation to the applicant being presented to you?
At about 0800, the approximate time.
Right. And that's different from 7:20.
Yeah, but it's approximate at about 0800 hours. Approximate.
Well, it's a substantially different time, 7:20 and 8 a.m.
Again, some of these were taken from memory, so it would be an approximate time.
Let me take you to paragraph 20 of your statement. Now, I understand you to say that you're not very well aware of the work to be carried out. Would that be fair?
Repeat the question.
I understand you to be saying to the Commission you're not very well aware of the works to be carried out. Would that be fair?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay. So, are you very well aware of the works that were to be carried out?
I knew on that particular
On that
day.
particular day, on the 25th?
Yeah, it has the specific tasks listed on the permit to work.
All right. So, look at your paragraph 20.
All right.
You have a number of tasks there to be done. And I take you to, well, let me just indulge. In relation to the job at berth number 6, as described in the PTW number 9320, Houston told me that LMCS will be removing the 30-inch solid blank, also called the blind flange or solid blind, from the top of the riser inside of the hyperbaric chamber, conducting a pressure test on the riser flange weld and installing the 30-inch riser pipe. He also said that if they had time to do so, LMCS would remove 50-inch flange from the top of the hyperbaric chamber. He said that LMCS would not be doing any hot work that day, but if hot work were to be done, he, Houston, would inform me. Good. I take you to your statement that LMCS would remove the 50-inch flange from the top of the hyperbaric chamber. And my question to you is that in relation to the explanation that you gave us to the work to be done, isn't that the first thing that has to be done in order for the risers to be switched? The blank. Well, first of all, did you mean 50-inch flange or blank?
The blank.
Blank, right. So we can correct that, right? And would that have been the first thing to be removed before there can be the switching of the risers?
Yeah, if they had to switch, they had to switch
Right, so you would like to correct that?
No. And on completion, they would remove it as well. They would remove it totally.
Well, we have to remove it in order to switch around.
No, on completion of the day's work, when they switched the riser, when they put on the riser, they would have removed the 50-inch blank as well.
All right. That is what you understood to be.
That's what he told me.
That's what he told you, Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Majart Singh.
Yeah.
When you spoke to Mr. Majart Singh that morning, you said part of the process that you were engaged in is him having a conversation with you as to the work to be done. Did he mention to you that there was a switch in relation to the method statement and the order? I know you said that you're not really concerned with the orders that has been placed in that document, but did he explain anything to that effect to you?
No, he indicated the specific tasks that they were going to do that particular day.
And that,
4.
that is what you've detailed at paragraph 20?
Yeah.
So for all intents and purposes, you were not aware of any particular order in which the work were to be carried out?
No. Again, could I expand?
Go ahead.
Right. So when our applicant brings a document to a site authority, or well, me in this case, we hear what job they are going to be doing, right? And basis that we make our operational checks to make sure the job could go on, because terminal operations is, again, berthing and unberthing of vessels. So once they bring the proposed specific tasks to be done via conversation and on the permit itself, we check to see if we have any operations in the area. Once we have no operations in the area, again, we would check the site, make sure the site is operationally safe, and make sure that the line is cleared, which was done prior, well, prepared prior. So with regards to that, whenever the specific tasks come to us and our site preparations are okay, meaning it's safe and it doesn't have any operational task inhibiting the job to be done, we give okay.
All right. So there are two, I'm hearing from you, there are two aspects of the permit in terms of its operation. Mm-hmm. First, that the site in which the works are to be carried out is safe, which is operational. That's essentially safe. What you're saying to us.
Operationally safe, yes.
Sorry?
Operationally safe, meaning we have no operations going on in that.
And then the second aspect would be that the work that is to be carried out is done in a manner that it has to be carried out. And that is what Mr. Chairman would have gone through with you in relation to the barriers.
Well, maintenance would have their method of doing their job.
Right. But I think you've already accepted that in relation to the work to actually be carried out, which is specified in the method statement, there is that correlation, and you must be able to ensure that it is done in the manner that it ought to be done.
No, I think we clarified that they jump from steps to steps in the method statement.
Okay. Specifically, in relation to the barrier, you have placed on this document, right, barrier to be used. Your understanding is the barrier to be used is a precaution in relation to the work, not in relation to operations of the area, correct?
Repeat the question, please.
The barriers to be used that you had endorsed on the permit to work system document.
Right, the migration barrier to be used.
Migration barrier. That is specific in relation to the work that is being carried out by LMCS. Well, and not in relation to the operation of the job site.
Well, the thing is, if you have an obvious risk involved, you would point it out. And the obvious risk there was, if they're doing work in the chamber, they needed to have the migration barrier in place in order to continue doing work or even do work at all.
So this was these are your words, this was an obvious risk.
There's an obvious risk
to Paria.
To me.
To you.
To me, yeah. I was the site authority on that day.
And you're Paria.
I'm Paria, yes.
Right. So for all intents and purposes, if LMCS, and I think Mr. Chairman has dealt with this with you, if LMCS was to be doing something that they ought not to be doing on that day, vis-a-vis the removal of the barrier, then you should have been able to step in at that point and stop it, correct?
Well, following the permittable process, it would have to be raised by the contractor official, then to the applicant, then to me, to say stop.
Right. We have covered this.
Yeah, we have. Yeah. I accept that, please.
Can I ask you, though, please?
Yeah.
So that I have this, again, clear in my own head. Looking at the work permit and the process by which it's obtained. The applicant to get the work permit isn't the contractee at all. It's this man, Majad Singh, who works for Kenson, correct?
Works for Kenson, that works for Paria. Yeah, so he comes for permission to do the job.
No, I understand. So I just want to understand the process,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
So the process is that the applicant for the work permit, and it's described as an applicant on the work permit. You can put it back up, please. 1074. The applicant for the work permit is not the contractee. That's not LMCS. It is Mr. Marjad Singh, who works for Kenson.
Right.
And Kenson works for you. Paria.
Yeah, but
Am I right about that?
Kenson, that's in the maintenance department. Paria, maintenance department.
Yes, it's all the firm, the same company, isn't it?
Different departments.
Of course there are different departments. I understand that much. I might be a bit slow, but I am getting it. Marjad Singh works for Kenson. Kenson is employed by Paria.
Yeah.
The contractee ultimately signs, I think, at the bottom of this document. Can we scroll down? I think there's somebody there. I can't remember his signature. But right at the very foot, it says contractor official. Is that the contractee? That's somebody from LMCS, is it?
Yes, that's the contractor official trained in the permit to work system.
Right, okay. But the top part of this document, scroll back the other way, please, is filled out by this Kenson employee, isn't it?
Right.
So that I have it, Kenson, employed by Paria, are making the application for the work permit, and the monitoring of the work that's being done by the contractee, not the applicant, is being covered by the contractee. You with me? So we've got LMCS looking after themselves, and we've got Kenson, employed by Paria, making the application.
I wouldn't say they're looking after themselves.
Well, that's what you did tell me earlier on, that they're monitoring the work that they're doing.
No.
It's their responsibility. You pointed out to me.
Well,
you made me look at some other document.
And according to the permit to work system, they would have to indicate any change to the applicant.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're the ones who are monitoring that. They're monitoring themselves over here, doing the job, and the application is being made by Kenson of Paria, and Paria employ Kenson. That's how the system works. I'm not blaming you for this, you understand. I understand that is the system, and I want to consider the system. You understand, part of our remit is to consider the system, how it works or doesn't work, all right? But that is what's happened here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you.
Could I just add one more point?
Yes, of course you can.
Right, so just to overview, the Kenson person from the maintenance department brings the permit, and then, after we vet it operationally, deem it safe to do the job, we would sign, taking out in consideration our operational precautions, and then the process after is for the applicant to explain to the contractor the essentials on the permit, which is the specific tasks, the precautions that is rendered on the permit, that gives permission for the permit to be done under those specific precautions, and the contractor, as well being a trained contractor official in the permit to work system, accepts the permit.
Yes, I'm not excusing anybody here or blaming anybody here, right? Okay. I simply want to understand the process and how it works, or doesn't, as I say. But that's the position, and as I say, I don't blame you. You're just applying the process.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
At your paragraphs 54, 55, 56, and 57 of your witness statement, you've detailed what it is that you experienced after the incident which occurred on the 25th. And in your details, what you basically say is that Kazim Ali Sr., Dex Tegera, Andrew Farah refused to engage or communicate with you.
Well, there were refusals, and then I get an answer from Kazim Ali stating that the divers went missing in the water, and he had only one diver available, which was Farah, Andrew Farah, and he already checked in the chamber and didn't see no one there.
All right.
And then afterwards, I started to gather information from other people because I wasn't getting.
Okay, no, stop right there.
Okay.
So that information that you just said there, at this point, looking back to the day in question, was there any more information that could have been supplied to you by Mr. Ali or any other person present here?
No, they refused to give me information.
No, that's not my question. My question to you, looking back to the information that you just said Mr. Ali gave to you, was there any other information available to him that he could have given to you that he kept back at that point in time?
With the greatest respect, how on earth can he possibly know that?
Well,
how can he know what Mr. Ali
my question is in relation to what information he would have had.
You have to rephrase it. You can't answer
I'll rephrase that. Can you recall the time in which you would have gone onto the area, the site?
Okay, my statement said 15:12.
So that's just after 3.
Yeah.
And when you attended the site, you saw Mr. Kazim Ali, Dexter Guerra, and Andrew Farah.
After I spoke with Kurt Scott and tried to find out information on the boat, then I saw them on the badge. Yeah.
And you're saying that Kazim Ali told you that the divers were missing. Is that correct?
Well, after progressively trying to get information from them, yes, he told me the divers were missing in the water.
All right. Could you confirm that at the time you were trying to get the information from them, they were in conversation with each other?
Everybody was talking, I guess, in distance. I can't confirm.
When you were observing, we're not there.
Right.
You were there, right? So you're going to the barge, you're going to the site in that the incident took place, and you're seeing LMCS's personnel gathering.
Right.
You can identify these 3 persons that I just called.
Yeah.
Andrew, Kazim, Dexter. Correct?
Yeah.
Right. I'm asking you, when you're going there and you're trying to get information from them, if you were observing them communicating, speaking with each other.
Well, some of them was talking.
I'm asking about those 3.
I can't specify, no.
All right. So I'm going to put it to you that they were in a conversation and they were communicating with each other. And you can answer that.
I can't. I don't know if they were engaged in any conversation together.
All right. And I'm also going to put to you that they were, and that they were actually speaking to each other about, but they were in communication with each other for the purposes of dealing with the issue of the missing divers.
Okay.
All right.
You were the site authority.
Yeah.
You tell us in your statement that you were asking people, some of the LMCS people, what was going on, and they were not answering you. Correct?
Yeah.
Right. Did you tell them that you were the site authority?
Yes, I told them I was the site authority, and they knew I am the site authority from
they
issuing
knew that
permits.
anyway?
Yeah, from issuing permits.
So you were saying to them, look, I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on.
Yes.
And they didn't tell you?
They didn't no.
They didn't respond?
They
or
didn't
they just
respond. They were walking away from me. And after several attempts, then the only information I got was that the guys were missing in the water, and they only had 1 diver available that checked inside the chamber, and they didn't see anyone present.
Right. That's the extent of the information you got?
Yeah, that's the extent.
But that they were not being cooperative, is that what we're to take from it?
Well, they weren't being cooperative.
Not with you, anyway?
To give me information, no.
Right, all right, thank you. Is there anything else about that we need to know?
You said in your statement that you attended to berth number 5 at least on 2 occasions on that day?
Yes, in the statement, yes.
And that was because you had received reports that there were noise or knocking coming from being observed at that riser.
I overheard LMCS personnel indicating that they were hearing knocking from berth number 5 riser, yes.
All right. And you also said that you attempted to hear that noise, to try to decipher that noise?
Yeah, with information on personnel missing, I tried to, as best as I could to go and check.
How did you check
Okay.
to ascertain?
I went across to boat number 5 via launch.
Which launch?
That can't recall at the time. But one of our Paria launches.
All right.
Yeah. Right by the rise area, there's a scaffolding. So I climbed on there and I was trying to knock with some bolts in order to make a noise so I could try to attempt to get some noise back to me. And I didn't hear no other knocking besides mine.
And you did anything in particular to hear that noise?
Yeah, I placed my ear down on the flange itself and listened to hear any noise that was coming back.
On the flange at the rise at berth number 5?
Correct, yes.
And you said that it was concrete coated?
The line itself is concrete coated.
Not the riser?
Not the, well, it had, well, there's
Well, we've
concrete
seen
coming
it,
up.
part of the riser is coated, near to the top. The
Top
flange
to the
isn't coated.
Yeah, the flange isn't coated, yeah.
But not the riser?
The riser is coated up to a point, and then it goes to a flange with a blank on it.
And you heard nothing?
I heard nothing.
Was there any other person present with you at the time that...
At that time, it would have been me and the launch crew and I.
And there was no LMCS personnel, no
At
other
that time,
person?
no.
What time was that?
I can't say. I'll check back. Right, so that would have to been after the Coast Guard came on site. So I'm just trying to get a ballpark time with regards to it. So that'll be after, and that would be after.
Before or after Mr. Boudreaux came out?
That was after. After, yes.
It's probably enough, isn't it?
I have no further questions.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Introduce yourself, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Chase Pegas on behalf of Kenson. In answer to Learned Senior, you referred to Mr. Madrad Singh as an approved applicant. Yes?
Yes,
He was in fact approved by Paria.
correct.
Right. Now, in your oral evidence in referring to Mr. Madrad Singh, you were not suggesting that Mr. Madrad Singh approved the documents attached to the permit to work.
No.
Mr. Chairman, just one last area. Can the witness be shown the permit to work procedure, which can be found at page 20?
It's on the screen.
Yes. And I am looking specifically at section 5.1.
It was on the screen. Right, there we are.
I'm looking at bullet point number 6 from the bottom,
Read it.
which reads, stop the work if there are changes in site conditions that increase the risk,
There you go.
or if new hazards are identified, and promptly notify the site authority of these changes.
Correct.
Right. You see that provision there?
Yes.
And you accept that that is the only condition under which Mr. Madrad Singh could have stopped the work on the day in question.
Could you repeat?
I'm suggesting to you that under provision 5.1, bullet number 6 from the bottom, which reads, this refers to the applicant, stop the work if there are changes in site conditions that increase the risk, or if new hazards are identified, and promptly notify the site authority of these changes.
Yeah. Yeah. So he would only stop the work if he knew that the conditions changed.
Okay. Much obliged. That would be all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes. Mr. Ramatar.
Good afternoon, sir. Prakash Ramada on behalf of the family, Kurban, and
Good afternoon.
for Yusuf Henry. Mr. Pegas just pointed out one area of authority given to Kenson to stop work, which he read to us, right? What was the authority given to Kenson to observe the work actually being done?
Could you repeat?
Of course. What was the authority or power given to Kenson to observe the work actually being done to see if there was a change in circumstances?
Well, from the permit to work system, the applicant is responsible for doing these duties listed here. And as such, if anything changes from the permit to work system.
Yeah. Let me make it quite clear.
Yeah.
You appreciate safety is one of the highest importance on the job site.
Yes.
Yes. Kenson is there basically as an agent for Paria to ensure that things go well.
Applicant, yes, he's the applicant.
Forget applicant, Kenson, yes? What authority was given to them? Because you've told us, and Chairman, I'm so grateful to you, and of course my guru, Mr. Ramesh Maharaj, in his cross-examination, that you did not have anybody with eyes on the work, but allow the contractor to continue whatever they had to do, and only when this disaster occurred, then you came in.
Well, it's a maintenance activity. And
sir,
being the
you are
applicant,
site authority. Don't tell me about maintenance here. With all due respect, Mr. Peterson, allow me this. All right, of course, let's hear it.
I think that's a fair point, Mr. Remender.
Yes, of course. It's a maintenance issue. You are site authority, correct?
It is a maintenance issue, it's a maintenance activity.
Yeah.
And as site authority, site authority is operations. We have no expertise to monitor a maintenance activity.
Beautiful. So it was not your work, to quote in that terms. Whose job was it then?
They are different departments.
Yeah, whose job? You are the site authority. Whose job was it to look on to ensure that nothing went wrong in the procedure that is so stipulated, whether sequential or otherwise? Whose job was it? The contractor.
Could you just specify the question again?
Of course. Whose job was it?
To
ensure the procedure was properly carried out, whether sequential or not on the work permit.
It was the job of the applicant to ensure that the maintenance activity went according to their plan, which was in reference to the specific tasks identified on the permit.
Thank you. Was Kenson given any authority to have eyes on the job?
I can't see.
Who is it that would be able to tell us this?
Well, just a minute.
Sorry, my lord.
We're looking at a document that's on the screen, which is the permit to work procedure, which you've referred to and a number of people have referred to. At paragraph 5.1, that deals with the applicant. We know the applicant to be Mr. Majajrad Singh, and he works for Kenson. At bullet point, I don't know, about 10, if you scroll to the next page, please, about 4 down from the top of the page, do you see it says there, continually monitor the job to ensure that it is performed in a safe manner and within the conditions prescribed in the work permit, certificates, and JH8 risk management. He may sign the renewal section indicating that he has audited the job. So he has an overall responsibility to oversee. Is that right?
Yes, because he will be in charge of the maintenance activity.
Continually monitor.
All right.
You know? So that I understand what's being asked of you,
right,
is did he have authority to stop the job?
Yeah, everyone has authority to stop the job.
Everybody.
If we deem something...
Even the most junior person, if they see something wrong, about to go wrong,
yes,
they have the
right
authority to say stop.
Yes.
It would ultimately come to you or to somebody more senior eventually to be determining when it should start again, if it does.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
But even the most junior person on the job has the authority to say stop.
Yes.
But the applicant has, under Paria's own permit to work procedure, been given specific authority and obligation, it is an obligation, isn't it,
Yes.
on them to continually monitor the job. And so if Mr. Madrad Singh was the person who understood that the barriers should not be removed, he was the one to have told you or to stop the job when they were being removed, wasn't he?
Yes, he would have to.
And he would have had to have some responsibility, if not a duty, as I say, to monitor the work, wouldn't he?
Yes, well, according to the permit work system, yes.
Yes, well, it's your I mean, not you personally, but, your
Yeah.
firm's permit to work system. And you, being the site authority, would have wanted to know.
Yeah.
That's where we are, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry.
In addition, there's also the duties of the contractor official as well.
Look, I'm not seeking to excuse anybody
Yeah.
here, right? Neither am I seeking to blame anybody here. I'm trying to understand how the system works, or doesn't.
Okay.
All right? So, Mr. Ramutar was asking you something.
Ramadan, sir. Yes, thank you.
Ramadan.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So,
I've been getting it wrong all this time.
no wonder we've been
You're too
crossing
kind not to correct me. Thank you.
sorry, not at all.
Ramadan.
Yes. So, as we have it, let me get this clear. You are the site authority, but you had no oversight. Is that accurate?
I'm responsible for the
Listen
site.
to my question. You had no oversight. As the ultimate authority, it's a big name, site authority. You had no oversight
Oversight on,
on everything.
I have oversight on the site.
Okay, let me make it quite clear. To ensure no one dies on your site.
The thing is,
You had no oversight to ensure that no one dies on your site.
the thing is, could I explain?
Please do.
There are various responsibilities in a permit to work system. My responsibility as the site official was because the nature of Paria's business is not maintenance. We have to ensure the site is operationally safe in order to start the maintenance activity. As site authority, that's our responsibility, ensure the site is safe for the maintenance work to happen. Now, the maintenance work, we have no experience in maintenance work as the site official or the site. Operation has Operation has no experience in a maintenance activity.
Right. So we
would not be able to supervise a maintenance job.
I hear you. So we're back to the position, site authority, right, not his work, to quote what we say in Trinidad.
I didn't say that.
Whose job is it then?
The?
Whose job is it to have oversight to ensure these things don't recur?
In the maintenance job, it would
Forget
be
about maintenance. I'm not interested in the titles. I'm interested in the responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Who has the responsibility to ensure that these things do not recur?
It's a system, it's a control of work. Everyone
And the
has
system failed, you agree? Or the system succeeded excellently, to quote Mr. Wade.
I can't say. I don't have all the facts.
You do not, well, let's see what facts you have. 4 men are now dead. You agree that's a fact? Do you agree that is a fact?
It is a fact.
You're the site authority. You must have done some introspection, if not more, to ascertain where the systems fail to have allowed that. You agree?
Repeat the question.
Certainly. You must have done some study, some introspection to ascertain how come a system that you rely upon allowed 4 men to have died. Isn't that correct? Yes or no?
Could you rephrase?
Chairman? Yes, of course. I have life, I have time, so I will do so. Has there been any analysis, you know the word analysis,
Yes.
as to how come the system which you clearly rely upon failed to have allowed 4 men to have died? Have you done any such analysis? Yes or no?
Myself, no. There would have been other departments.
You
not
cared that
serious.
men died in your site?
Could the witness be allowed, if my friend is not interested in the answer, a simple process is to withdraw the question, or don't put it at all.
Yes, again.
Yes, of course. My friend and I were best friends so long. And he's my
Yeah,
senior,
I know.
of
You
course.
might be best friends outside of court.
And-
Not inside, are you?
And that is why I will not respond in the way I would normally. But would
try
a
to
witness-
restrain your
Of
enthusiasm
course. Yes,
a little,
well,
please.
Thank you. I'm of that age now. You're right, right. So, sir, you did not, as site authority, consider where the systems failed? Forget about others having to do it. You, personally, sir. Yes or no?
It's not my responsibility to
Oh,
determine
not your work.
if the site,
Not your work.
if the system has failed. The system is a bigger part of things.
And you appreciate,
And it's a
like a
collective
clock.
agreement.
I beg your pardon. Mr.
You have to let him answer the
Yeah, Mr.
question.
Peterson will
You know, if
stop
you're going to
you.
ask it, you've got to let him answer it,
Yeah.
haven't you?
Yeah.
Right, so the system itself is a bigger part. Everyone's had the responsibility to develop the system.
Yeah.
So I can't singularly analyze to determine the faults in the system.
Have you made any effort?
Effort
Yeah. To analyze?
to analyze it.
Yeah.
Well, the system, as in my position, the system is to be followed as it is.
Right. So you know, as we've agreed, the system has failed for men and their families and the country. You agree that?
If I agree that the system has failed,
Failed, yes.
I can't say, to be honest.
It has succeeded.
I don't have all the facts in the system to say or draw a conclusion to something like that.
4 men died. A foundational
With
fact.
regards to the system.
Right? And I don't want to be repetitive because others may be irritated by it, but I have to get you. The fact that 4 men died following your system.
Not my system, Paria system.
Well, I call you you are Paria, sitting in
Okay.
that seat today, with all due respect. Following Paria's system, 4 men died. You are site authority. You went through that process in your mind, in your quiet moments, to ascertain where things went wrong, what could be done better to ensure no recurrence.
I couldn't do that because it wasn't my experience to do so. I am involved in operations and
No problem.
clearing the
It's
site.
not an entirely fair question, is it? I mean, he is one individual in a very large organisation.
Of course.
It is their responsibility to review the position. All right? I dare say every single person who has been concerned in this case have a personal introspection as to whether they did their job properly or not. And if that's what you're asking him, by all means ask him
And that-
personally.
thank you.
It's probably not going to advance the case very much, though, is it?
It may not, but it is important to this extent. Because you appreciate whatever organization there is, as you've indicated, made up of many parts. And the parts have to work together to ensure that the totality works as a whole. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes. Like a clock, it with one little piece doesn't work well. You agree with that?
Okay, yes.
Yeah. Now, you are the site authority. You arrive shortly thereafter this accident, and you are saying that LMCS didn't wish to speak with you?
I didn't say that. I said I attempted to talk to them, and
Uh-huh.
they didn't provide information until further when they only indicated to me that the divers who was working in the chamber went missing.
But would it be cooperative? I think that was already asked, but for my refreshment.
At the time, no. I was constantly asking. I wasn't getting no feedback.
Who specifically were you asking?
I listed it in the statement.
Yeah, give me the names.
Yeah, that was Kazim, Ali, Farah, Dexter.
Right. Who represented Paria, apart from MCS personnel there, who represented Paria there? Kenson, you've told us, correct?
In maintenance operation. Well, Kenson in maintenance, yeah.
Who is on site as you arrived? Who did you first speak with?
That would be Kurt Scott.
Representing whom?
Kenson Paria Operations.
And you ascertained as best as you could have what the status was at that time. Men were missing, correct?
Yes.
You as site authority, you are the most senior man on site at that point, isn't it?
At that time, yes.
Yeah. Was it, in your mind, the most important thing to rescue possibly alive men? Yes or no?
The thing is, when you reach on site, the uncertainties, you gather information
Correct.
to make your next move
While you're getting information for what purpose?
for rescue.
Rescue. Good. So that was the foremost issue you had in your mind, and you will get information to support the purpose of rescue. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Yes. You, of course, know President Obama. You know who he was. President Obama.
Yeah.
Right. You've heard the statement, trust but verify. You've heard that statement, have you?
Yeah, I heard that statement before.
Right. Good. Did you trust the information you had at the time when you got there?
Could you specify the
Well,
question?
you tell me what information you got when you got there. And whether you trusted it. Speaking to Kenson, your agent.
That was the question?
Yes.
Yeah, well, the information that he gave me
Yes.
was he saw a splash on the screen, and then he was asking or inquiring about what happened to the personnel.
Right.
He didn't get any feedback.
As an experienced person, men in a chamber, splash on a screen, you don't see anybody floating outside the chamber, you assume they were either in the chamber or in the pipe. Is that accurate?
I can't assume that.
What did you assume?
From
the information you had.
that Scott gave me, I had to gather more information, and it maybe seemed as though it was time-consuming. However, it happened in a matter of, say, reaching on site, gathering information before I made my response was about 15, 20 minutes.
Congratulations.
Or
What
less.
was your response?
Huh?
What was your response in the 15 minutes?
Yeah, well, on gathering information.
What was your response? We heard you and we congratulate your 15-minute arrival.
Could he be allowed to answer the question, sir?
And I'm asking him specifically, and he's on a
The
different
problem
track.
is we're not getting any information from him. We're getting it all from you at the moment.
Well,
and if you're going to ask him a question, he's got to be able to answer it.
Thank you.
know.
Well, I'm grateful.
I know we're all trying to move along quickly, but
Yes.
choose your questions a little more carefully and allow him to answer them, please. All right?
You've heard the chairman's admonition. Okay, so let's refocus ourselves. I shall, you do, please. You arrive within 15 minutes. You've told us this.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Approximately.
decision did you take to help rescue those men?
I tried to gather information from the contractor.
Yeah. What decision did you take, seeing that you had failed to obtain the necessary information you thought you required? What decision did you take to further the effort in your mind to rescue?
No, as mentioned in my statement.
I'm not interested with your leave. Let's deal with you here, live and direct.
As I said, as mentioned in my statement, the only information that I obtained was from Kazimali that men were missing in the water. Thereon, I dispatched our launchers, our emergency response plan, which is dispatch all launchers and tugs within the area to see if we have bodies anywhere or if we could recover personnel or rescue personnel within the area. Because at the time, the only information we had is men who were missing in the water.
Right. Okay, so there you are, the most senior Paria man on site. When did you next see anybody more senior than you on site?
At 16, it's here in the statement, 16, Vishal Marichan arrived on site. 16:15.
That is 4:15 p.m., correct?
No.
We're looking at the time, my lord.
He was asking.
16:15 being 4:15.
Yeah, approximately 16:15. That is the offshore lead at the time.
Offshore lead.
At the time.
You had a conversation with him,
Yeah, I transferred all the information I gathered to him.
so you hand over to him.
I transferred all the information I gathered to him.
Right. In other words, it was no longer your responsibility. I have a bigger boss there. Is that it?
I didn't say that.
I'm asking you.
I was still on site assisting in any way that I could.
Right. But who then would have had the authority to make decisions? Was it you or in combination with his new bigger boss?
Well, at that time, Vishal Harichan would have been in charge and I assisted.
Right. At that time, when he arrived, had it come to anyone's attention that they were hearing knocking in the pipe by that time?
No.
No. You said you left there around what time?
21:30 around that time.
Could we have Trini time, please, instead of military?
That would be 9:30.
9:30. So you were there when, first of all, knocking was heard from the pipe. You agree?
I was there when someone mentioned that knocking was being heard from boat number 5.
You doubted that information?
No, I didn't doubt.
Right.
I went across there and verified.
And you verified? Was any step taken there and then to effect a rescue that men were still alive and therefore precious life was available?
Well, that was after Christopher Budram was recovered.
Yeah?
And that information that the divers told us that he was pulled out from inside the pipeline was already passed on
Good.
to the command.
So I shan't be longer with you, except this. But when Christopher Budram came out, what time was this?
At around, I'll have to check back to 1736. 1736.
Right. And you were present when he was rescued out of the chamber and brought out. Is
I
that
was on the
accurate?
boat at the time, yeah.
Yeah, you were there, right? So the proof of life of other men was available at that time. Because he said men were behind him, isn't it?
Well, that's what he said, yes.
Yeah. You had reason to doubt him?
If?
You had any reason to doubt him?
No.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Just pause for a moment. Mr. Peterson, how long do you think you might be? We don't have anything.
We don't have anything. I think the witness has been.
Great. Well, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll hear a little, probably not all, but from Mr. Scott. Yes.
Arising from Mr. Ramada's cross, I just want to clarify one thing from this witness before
What is
he
it?
leaves.
Ask me first.
What I want to get from this witness is that there was no way for Mr. Madrad Singh to supervise the removal of this migration barrier and stop the works. What he said in answer to Mr. Ramada is that anybody could have stopped the work if it is they see something going not according to plan with respect to the work permit.
Ask him.
Yes. Thank you very much. Now, in answer to my friend, Mr. Ramada, you made reference to you, who was a person in operations. You couldn't supervise a maintenance job.
Correct.
Right. Now, in further answer to him, you indicated that there were specific tasks on a work permit. Yes?
Yes.
And if it was found that the contractor, LMCS, was doing something which was not according to plan, anybody could have stopped them.
Correct.
Right. Now, under the permit to work procedure, I believe the learned chairman pointed out to you, and I would read the provision in the interest of time, that the applicant was to continually monitor the job.
It's on the screen.
Right. It's on the screen. You indicated that the applicant was to continually monitor the job to ensure that it is performed in a safe manner and within the conditions prescribed in the work permit, certificates, and JHA risk assessment. You identified that as being one of the duties of the applicant.
Yes, according to the permit to work system, yes.
Right. And then you went on to say that the applicant could have stopped the work if he noticed that there was a removal of this migration barrier. Yes?
Correct, if he noticed.
Right. Now, under the system that you all utilized, a lot would have depended, on the contractor supervision in order for the applicant to stop the removal of the migration barrier.
Correct, because the contractor was trained in the permit to work system.
Right. As you understand it, the contractor official provided full-time supervision, yes?
That's how I understand it.
And the only way Mr. Madrad Singh could know that there was going to be a removal of the migration barrier is if the contractor official notified him.
Correct.
Much obliged.
Who's Scott? Who is Kirk Scott?
Kurt Scott is an operator on my team.
On your team? Does he work for Paria?
He's a Kenson
Works
personnel
for Kenson.
working for Paria.
Is he junior to Mr. Marajad Singh?
Different departments.
Completely different department.
Different departments.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Maharaj, are there any questions? No. We'll take our 5-minute break and then we'll have a little, but not all, I suspect, from Kirk Scott. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
I appreciate your attendance. Yeah. You're free to go. You can come and go as you please if you're interested. All right.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for coming.
Okay, I'd just like to just say condolences to the families, extend my condolences to the families of the deceased.
Very well.
Yep.
Thank you. Would you take a seat for a moment, sir? Mr. Peterson, can I address a matter to you, please? We made a request of Paria by letter on the 8th of November for the IMT records. Without going through the litany of correspondence that has passed between us and your instructing attorney, the net result is that after all of these applications and being promised on no less than 3 separate occasions that we would have at least some of the material, we still do not have any of it. We're told that it is extensive and will have to be provided by some sort of memory stick. Now, I'm concerned because we're hearing from a number of witnesses who work for Paria, and it may be that this material will reveal things that we would wish to ask them. I'm releasing all of these witnesses at the moment, but I'm really very reluctant to do so. And I really want these IMT records provided to us this week, tomorrow, if possible. And if you haven't got it all, just give us what you've got.
That's the Friday, it was Friday, right? So when I answered this morning about Friday, I was at cross purposes because my team thought that you had asked about that when they told me Friday.
Right.
So I gave a commitment for the supplemental statement with the survey, which I think could still be done. But the indication when they told me Friday, they were speaking about that material.
All right.
Yeah.
So we can get it by Friday,
Yes.
can we?
Yeah. That's
morning
when they
or
told
evening?
me Friday, that's what they were speaking about.
Right. Well, can I say this? I've no idea what this material contains, and you probably don't either. I don't know whether you've seen it.
No, I tell them to assemble it. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm concerned that we're being given this material halfway through this inquiry when we have been asking for it for some time. But be that as it may, if I don't have it on Friday, if it's not provided to us so that we can at least start looking at it over the weekend, if we don't have it by Friday, it will incur my displeasure, which is not a happy sight.
Yes, I've seen it.
So
I've seen it, sir.
You've seen it. I'm not sure you have, actually, but that's me being jovial. But I am serious about
Yes,
this.
sir.
I mean, we really must have it, all right?
So I will
please
I will have my sleeves
impress
up
upon
and
them.
you'll have it.
Thank you very much. All right. Sir, you are Mr. Scott. Please, would you stand for a moment while you take the oath?
Good, Scott.
Solemnly swear
Solemnly swear
that the evidence
that the evidence
I shall give to the Commission
I shall give to the Commission in this case
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
All right, thank you. Mr. Scott, make yourself comfortable. I'm afraid I have an apology that you've been waiting, I think, all day, have you not?
Yes, sir.
So I'm sorry that you've been waiting all day. It's partly my fault and partly everybody else's, but these things take a little longer than we perhaps planned. My apology has to extend a little further because I think it's unlikely that we will be able to deal with your evidence completely today, which will mean that you may have to come back tomorrow, all right? But let's see how we get on. What we're going to do is, Mr. Bissessar there is going to summarise the evidence that you've given us so far. Listen to it carefully. If you agree with it at the end of his summary, tell him you agree with it, and then we'll see if there are any other questions from whoever needs to ask us. Are we asking any questions? Yes, there will be some questions from Mr. Maharaj, all right? And then the other lawyers, some of them may want to ask you questions as well. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, Mr. Kurt Scott declined the invitation to be interviewed by the Commission, and in fact, a witness summons was issued by the Commission to compel his attendance. And on the 2nd of December 2022, Mr. Scott provided a witness statement. It's an 11-paragraph witness statement, so rather than summarize, I will simply read it. It's fairly short.
So when did you say it was again?
The 2nd of December, and it's at, forgive me, it's at 3029 of the supplemental witness bundle. And it's on the screen. My name is Kurt Scott. I have been an offshore operator at Paria Fuel Trading Company Limited since December 2018. I've been an offshore operator for the past 18 years. On the 25th of February 2022, I reported for duty at Paria at 600 hours. I recall arriving on berth 6 at about 8:20 hours. My role on the berth was to monitor the work area for any signs of pollution, mainly oil pollution, to be on the lookout for any incoming vessels, and ensure no work other than the operation within the defined area of number 36 Sea Line Riser was performed. While performing my duties at about 14:45 hours, I noticed a splash on the monitor which was showing the ongoing work activity inside the hyperbaric chamber. After this splash that appeared on the screen went blank, and I could no longer see anything on the screen. Upon making this observation, I immediately alerted LMCS's dive supervisor, Andrew Farah. I also alerted LMCS's safety personnel, who was located on the nearby barge Adventurer 1, informing him of my observation. I recall saying to him that something appears to be wrong inside the chamber. Upon alerting them, I noticed that they did not make any immediate checks. I recall raising my voice demanding of them that checks within the area and inside the chamber be made. I also demanded that they initiate their emergency backup plan, as I figured something was wrong. I recall telling them to try and communicate with the personnel in the chamber via radio or by knocking on the chamber. I also contacted the offshore terminal supervisor, Jonathan Ramdan, at approximately 14:50 hours and informed him that his immediate presence is required at berth 6, as I was not getting any feedback from the contractor with further information from the checks demanded. At approximately 15:05 hours, I observed the dive supervisor was suited up with diving equipment and was told by personnel on the barge that he was going to check inside the chamber. Shortly after, about 5 minutes, the dive supervisor returned to the barge. I immediately demanded feedback from the LMCS personnel on the barge. However, no feedback is given. I continued to question the LMCS personnel on the barge, and I finally received feedback. One of the LMCS's workers told me that the chamber was empty and that LMCS divers who were in the chamber were all missing. I recall asking what is the next step, because the divers could not be accounted for. I did not get an answer to this question. I also recall speaking to LMCS's HSE personnel requesting to view the recording from inside the chamber in an attempt to ascertain what happened. However, the HSE personnel told me that only the dive supervisor can access that recording. At around 15:12 hours, the OTS, Mr. Ramdan, arrived on site at berth 6. I recall informing him of my observations. Upon his arrival, I remained on berth 6 to provide any assistance that may be required. I was not directly involved in any rescue effort, but assisted by locating and providing any basic thing that was asked for, like rope or transmitting messages from the berth to the shipping office. I recall leaving the berth at around 19:30 hours. I returned to Paria on the 26th of February 2022, and Mr. Ramdan recorded a statement from me, and he has exhibited a true copy of that as A. Finally, I also answered questions asked of me in an interview with the Occupational Safety and Health Agency. A copy of those notes, which was provided by the Commission, is attached and marked B. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mirage.
Just want to ask you a few questions, okay?
Yes, Senior.
You report for duties at Paria,
Yes.
and you perform your duties at Paria,
Yes.
and you are instructed by Paria officials what work to do,
Yes.
and they also instruct you how to do the work,
Yes.
and you have office facilities at Paria in order to perform your duties. You have an office, so you are there at the facilities. What time you work? From what time to what time you work at Paria?
Shift.
Shift?
Yes.
How many hours?
12 hours.
12 hours shift. And during those 12 hours, you're at Paria's premises.
Yes.
So on this But they say you're a Kenson employee. Who you're paid by?
By Kenson.
So you're paid by Kenson, but working at Paria.
Yes, sir.
Kenson is a contracting company.
Yes.
What is your experience? You have any experience as an how long you're doing this job?
Well, in Paria, in a branch over from Petrotrin into Paria.
From Petrotrin
into Paria on the port. I start in 1998 as a PMan, then the operator, and in 2014, 2012 there, I started act as dock supervisor, and on the closure of Petrotrin, I had 4 years. I'm in the position of a dock supervisor.
Okay, on the 25th of February 2022, you were performing the duties as what at Paria?
As a jetty, as an offshore operator.
Offshore operator?
Yes.
What those duties involved?
Those duties as an offshore operator consist of taking mooring lines, standing by vessels to whether they're loading or discharging cargoes, and manning the boat facilities.
Okay. But on that date, you were looking at, is it a video screen when you saw the splash?
Yes, sir.
And you had a view of the chamber where the work was being done?
Yes, sir.
And for how long were you looking at the video screen at the chamber on that date?
In between, while I was making my checks, I will take a look, because it was first time I was experiencing seeing the operation in the chamber. First time.
Well, the first time you were...
First time in the 24 years service in the port, first time I was seeing that operation.
So were you monitoring the works that were being done in the chamber that day?
No, sir.
No. Was anybody with you monitoring the works?
No, sir.
Do you know whether anybody was monitoring the works on behalf of Paria that day?
I cannot say.
You can't say. But from where you were
Yes.
in relation to the chamber, you were topside, obviously.
Yes.
And where you were, in an office?
No, I was roaming, making my checks on the boat. But during the course of the day, different people pass, partly everybody who was on the boat, who passed on the boat, take a look at the monitor screen.
But could you explain to us how you could have seen this flash? Where were you when you saw this splash?
The splash, I went to check on a tarpaulin over the monitoring area, because the rain was falling and stopping. So after checking the tarpaulin, after I will take a little look at the screen, at the screen before I make my rungs again. And my eyes glanced on the screen, and I saw the splash.
And from what you're telling us accurate information. This is the first time you were looking at the chamber.
When?
On the 25th of February.
On the 25th of February was the first time in my life I was seen inside of the chamber.
Okay.
First time. From on the monitoring screen.
So that's the first time you were
First time in my life.
And the only time, well, when you looked before you saw the splash,
Yes.
what did you see in the chamber?
I saw the personnel in the chamber at various times doing various things.
Did you see them but you saw the pipe they were working on?
I saw the top of the pipe where the flange was.
Right. And you could have seen that they were doing some work at the top of the pipe?
Yes.
Taking out something from the pipe?
Yes.
What you saw they were taking out?
First, I saw they was working, moving some bolts from on the blank. Right, and during another time, another period, because every time I pass or take a look, I saw personnel operating a chain block and turning something.
And turning something. If you see, I wonder if you could show I wonder if the witness can be seen in that mechanical plug on the screen. Yeah. I want to show you on the screen something, and you'll tell me if you recognize it, okay?
Yes.
Was it something like that you saw them working on?
Yes, something like that I saw after the top of the pipe.
I'm sorry?
Something resembling that I saw.
So, and for how long you saw them working on that? Whenever you saw it, for how long you saw them? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, how long?
I can't recall the exact period, but
No,
last time it could be about I was in the area for about 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes?
Yes.
And you saw it one time for 5 minutes, or you saw it before?
No, the only time I saw it was when it was out of the pipe and resting on the flange.
On the flange?
Yes.
So you saw it out of the pipe, but did you see them working on it too? Moving it out?
I didn't know what they was working on.
Okay. But could you see what was in the pipe when they were working?
No, sir.
No. But how long, but from the time you saw them working on the pipe to the time you saw them this out of the pipe in the chamber, how much time, about how much time passed? I know you're not exact. Tell me about how much time.
Well, it was operating the chain block and turning. I would have left the area and returned because I didn't know what it is they was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you come back, you saw it out, or?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And how long was that from the time you saw it first and you come back? About how long?
Roughly about, could be about 5 minutes.
About 5
5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Right. I want to ask you
Yes.
something. Do you know whether anybody from Paria, anybody who was working with Paria was monitoring that job, what was being done in the chamber?
In between, during the course of the operation, I saw various people come by the screen there, but I cannot identify who is who because I was not focused on that area.
Okay, but where is the screen? Where is the screen that you're talking about? Where was the screen?
The screen was on a table on a
top side?
Yes, sir.
But in an office?
No. On the walkway, not too far from the riser.
On the walkway,
yes,
not too far
from the riser. The area where you tour?
So it's on the boat then?
Yes.
On boat number 6?
Yes, sir.
On the walkway?
Yes.
And so people could walk and they could pass and they could see what's happening?
Yes, it was inside of the walkway. So once you come on the boat, you could take a look.
Okay. Right. I want to ask you one more question.
Yes, sir.
You were not given any instructions by Paria that day to monitor the work which was going on in that chamber?
No, sir.
No. Much better. No further questions. I should ask.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Do you know whether anybody from LMCS, do you know the company LMCS?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether anyone from LMCS was monitoring that work that day?
The majority of the time, I thought the dive supervisor monitoring.
By the camera or?
Yeah, by the screen. By the screen.
You know the name of that person?
Andrew.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew. You know anybody else you know from LMCS?
By name?
Yeah.
Who was there?
Yeah.
No, sir.
No. Do you know anybody named from Paria who was there looking at the screen? Do you know anybody? If you don't know, you don't know.
No, only about, I'm in between, I believe I saw the maintenance technician, Houston, and some other individuals, but I'm not too familiar with the maintenance personnel.
Houston Majad Singh?
Yes.
Okay. I'm much obliged. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Scott, good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
You said after you saw the splash on the screen, you had to raise your voice when you were trying to get persons to respond to what you had seen on the screen. You remember saying that?
Yes, sir.
Because you realized something went wrong in the chamber.
Yes, sir.
Who did you have to raise your voice and tell them to initiate emergency backup plan? Who were you referring to?
First, I notify the diver supervisor and the...
Is that the Andrew you spoke about?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And the question with the emergency backup plan would have been the HSC personnel, the safety personnel who was located on the barge.
That was a LMCS person?
Yes, sir.
How many times you had to raise your voice to get their attention and for them to respond?
Well, I can't recall exactly how many times.
But it's more than once.
Basically, roughly.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
Anyone else?
Mr. Scott, good afternoon.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Kamini Prasad from LMCS, representing LMCS. You said you had to raise your voice, but then at paragraph 7, you said shortly after, about 5 minutes, the dive supervisor returned to barge. I immediately demanded the feedback, but then you later said, well, you don't later say it. Did you observe him taking a walk around the area and looking back from where he was? First of all, was Mr. Andrew Farah standing or sitting?
He was walking towards the monitor.
All right. And then you observe him walking around the area, looking into the water around the monitor, where the monitor was situated?
I did not observe that.
Did you observe him speaking or shouting to anyone across the barge, to the barge?
I can't recall right now.
Did you observe or heard anyone from the barge speak to Mr. Farah?
Not from where I was.
Did you observe Mr. Farah go into the water, put on his gear and go into the water?
Yes.
Yeah. And how long would that have been after the splash was observed?
That could have been approximately about 15 to 20 minutes after.
15 to 20 minutes after.
Approximately.
All right. Thank you. That's all.
Well, you had a long day just for a relatively short contribution, but I'm grateful nonetheless. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks.
All right, you are free to go.
Thank God.
I think you're not the only one who's going to say that tonight. All right, thank you. Please go. Yes, you can go out this way. Come. That's it. All right. Well, happily, we've managed to at least conclude at a reasonable hour. So we will stop today, and we will start. I think we'll stick with 9:30 tomorrow morning. I see you shake your head, Mr.
I know my colleagues blaming me for this, but I will. That's not the only burden.
I think your shoulders are broad enough.
That's not the only burden I've been asked to carry. So.
Well, it's at your suggestion we're at 9:30. Otherwise, it might be 9. Yes. All right. All right. 9:30, please, tomorrow morning. Thank you very much indeed. Please feel free to go. I've got to collect my papers myself.